Okay, people, what's going on? Rasati out here in Singapore, and thank you so much for joining me back on the Night Owl podcast. So today, I kind of want to tackle something big, kind of existential, because it really got me thinking, y'all. And I want to put this out to the world to kind of discuss and maybe fight me about. I don't care, but I wanna kind of contemplate this a little bit. So bear with me, yeah. I've been watching the Warrior Nun, and I really love that it's kind of based in the King James version of the Bible. It's got, every chapter is named after a specific passage in the Bible, whether it's Ecclesiastes, Ephesians, Proverbs, Psalms, whatever. Okay, so it has like a theme to it. And I like it. It's very, very beautifully written. I like the fact that I have to go back and look at what the chapter reference was about, so I can see how it plays into the episode itself. And it really got me thinking, because there was a part in there that was very, very on the nose as far as pointing out what's happening in the world today without really detailing much, right? It's oh my gosh. So, okay, here we go. This is the concept that I was wanting to discuss. It says that for some, faith is based upon that which cannot be proven. For without faith, there is no manipulation. And without manipulation, there is no fear, because without fear, there is no power. Now, obviously, they're talking about the Roman Catholic Church, the Pope, and the way the structure of the church is created, what the hierarchy is, how you're supposed to go about doing things. Like, it's almost like a business structure, right? The top of the business, the CEO, and then like how the management runs everything, going all the way down to the worshipers or the congregation or the employees, for lack of a better term. So in this, I kind of want to come at it from different stages. I know that religion is based on the fact that you can't really see God, but I would like to disagree. While I may not have faith in a God with a physical form and a specific purpose and power or whatever, I come from a very ecumenical background. Faith for me is a little more spiritual. Faith for me is faith in humanity, faith in things that I have seen. I have seen the worst of humankind and the best as well. I have faith that people will ultimately find the best way to help, but they're also going to preserve themselves as best they can. They don't want to appear like they are out of line. They don't want to talk about any of their mistakes, but they do want what's best. It's just the way they go about doing those things. And also what they consider the best, depending on what options they see are appropriate or even available for them to take. I want to believe that faith is not necessarily faith in the unseen. And maybe that's the difference between faith and hope, and I'm not sure, but I kind of feel like faith for me is I have faith that people are inherently good. Maybe that's a real Anne Frank way to do things, but I would like to believe that. That makes me feel safer. It makes me feel like, okay, not everyone is out to get me, and I'm not going to be attacked as soon as I step foot outside of my house, so I don't have to be a hermit. I have faith in people. I have faith that there are still acts of kindness randomly being done around the world without any underhanded notion, as in, like, it's not caught on camera because I need to show the world that I was kind that one time, but that I do it because it occurred to me that this person needed that kindness, or that I could do something to ease their pain or ease their suffering or ease their life in general. And so I did, just because I could. There was nothing attached to it. There was no string. There was no underhanded motive. There was nothing in it for me. I just did because I could, and so I did. And that's what faith feels like to me. But in this particular sense, when it's coming down to this Warrior Nun series on Netflix, basically it was talking about the fact that the church depends on the fact that you have blind faith in an unseen God. There is no proof that there is God, but we want you to be afraid that God would be judging you if you did anything wrong, so you need to adhere to these specific rules. Now, the next part of that, the next layer of that is that these things can't be proven, so without faith, there is no manipulation. So I understand that part of it. We believe in currency that way, right? This is the only way to make currency. There's a good way and there's a bad way. There's an illegal way and a legal way, if you understood what I'm saying. So things like money heist has you really wondering, well, okay, is there a good way and a bad way? What does it actually represent? Once upon a time, the money actually represented gold, right? The wealth of the nation or whatever. But now it's built on, I don't know, whatever. They print it whenever they feel like, which is why Money Heist was like, well, were they actually stealing from anyone, or were they just printing paper and wasting ink, basically? But for a good cause, because they were going to spend it everywhere and thus reintroduce more money into the economy. Am I understanding that correctly? I don't know, but they were trying to help in their own twisted way. But in that context, right, money, it was supposed to represent something that you could not touch or feel. You trust the government to say that this is all the money that we have, this is this $1 trillion debt that we got going on. Why or where or how, I have no idea, but it exists. The fact that they would give you credit, which is unseen money, but you have faith in the money itself, that, this is your worth, this is how much you studied for, this is how much debt you have to pay back, this is what you owe certain people, for what, I'm not sure still, but all of those things. So when it comes to religion, then, they need the manipulation in order for you to behave a specific way. They want to control you and have you all do the same things the same way, so that what conformity means, it's easier to control people. Conformity means that it's easier to predict what people will and won't do, so you're protected. If you're at the top and can see, like with ego vision, what people are doing, what the tendencies are, who the outliers are, who could devastate your perfectly curated lawn or whatever. Like I'm this is the part that gets me, but I see it all day long. Media manipulation. What is actually the news? Once upon a time, people would fight, journalists would fight for responsible journalism, to actually dig and find the truth rather than support and print whatever is easy and catchy and fun for the moment. It was more educational and documentary-like than reality TV, which reality TV is completely taken over, by the way. But these were the things that we grew up with. I grew up with the encyclopedia generation, right? The kids who used to watch Planet Earth and all of those documentaries that taught us about the fact that, the world is changing, we are affecting the world, and global warming, the ozone layer, chlorofluorocarbons, like all of that stuff we learned. We were a generation once upon a time that was very, very educated, and we were taught to research properly and go to several different sources to see if everyone was saying the same thing. And it was very resourceful of us back then, and I thought it was really helpful because we tried really hard to get at the truth. Even when it came to political races or historical accuracy, like all of those things, I really think that I came from a generation that was taught to question everything and be as responsible as possible when it came to journalism or blogging, all of those things. And now it's not quite that way. Now it's whatever's the loudest. How can you get the most likes, the most shares? How can you go viral all of a sudden? And the truth gets lost in all of that. Now it's become, dilute the power, fight the system, pay attention to what it is that they're burying while they're highlighting the sensationalized piece of news all of a sudden because something else is going on. It's almost like the magician's trick, right? You watch this hand, but the other hand is working at the same time. But because this hand is right in front of your face, you forget that the other hand also plays a part. So all those things, the manipulation is real. I see it, but I wonder what we could possibly do about it, because we're not at the top where we are in control of the manipulation. We're on the bottom end where we're, sitting in front of set-top boxes and being brainwashed into thinking that this is important, whereas other things are happening at the same time. So without the manipulation, there is no fear. Now, I do see a lot of fear-mongering. People are really good about sharing things and scaring other people into not doing what they think is wrong all of a sudden. And a lot of times they won't fact-check. They would just consider it, oh my gosh, just in case, let me just share this to everybody anyway. And I understand that the fear is a way to impose discipline somehow, without actually threatening in so many terms. It's almost like if you do this, then this is going to be the repercussion. You better be careful. Coronavirus was definitely a really great example of that, because we were told that if we didn't wear a mask, that we would catch coronavirus. But they didn't tell us about the fact that our eyes are also open, and that is also a biohazard. If this virus is airborne, we could catch it just by being in someone else's presence. If they were to fart, sneeze, burp, any of those things without a mask on, our eyes are still open. Even if we had a mask on, we could still contract the virus. There are so many ways that we could still do this, skin to skin contact. I mean, we're not completely covered. There's not enough, personal protection that in the world that could really cover all of us. And even then, that's what our skin is for. The fact that we are trying to stop the contagion or the contamination of each other, forgetting also that the more hand sanitizer you use, the less likely your body is able to adjust and fight off disease, because you're super clean, so clean that there are no germs whatsoever, including good germs that might be able to fight off disease originally. I mean, considering we came from a time where at one point we lived in the dirt, right? We lived outside with very few body coverings. We didn't really clothe ourselves, so to speak, but we didn't contract diseases. We weren't worried about ants biting and picking up diseases. We've been more fragile now than we've ever been in our existence, I think. And I understand the fear plays a part. You are so scared, and as parents, we want to protect our kids, but I also know that, you know what, kids raised on farms are some of the most hardy people you'll ever meet in your life because they've been around every possible, you know, animal in and out of the dirt. They have been just homegrown, really raised, and their immune systems are spectacular. They really don't get sick as often. They eat well, they sleep well, they breathe well. They've been outside most of their lives. And I don't know, some of us are a little bit more pampered and we should worry about those things. This is how we breed a weaker version of ourselves. If evolution is meant to support the strongest of our kind, this is anti that, right? It's backwards a little bit. Anyway, the fact that this quote has me thinking so much really makes me wonder, like, if people were to really understand that statement, what would they think? How would they feel? I mean, just listen to it. For some people, faith is based upon that which cannot be proven. But some of us who are in a position of authority expect us or depend on the fact that you can't prove any of those things. I mean, I've used it myself. As a parent, I've threatened stuff that my child doesn't know is real or not real, right? I've been prone to lying to them about what could happen if they jumped off the couch, right? I fearmonger as well. Like, you could break your head, you never get up again. Like, you could break your arm and never heal. Like, I've done it, okay? Because I'm trying to tell them not to jump off of furniture. Even though it's in their nature to do so, it's completely natural at their age, whatever their age was, right? To test their boundaries. They don't have the fear yet. And it's not a bad thing for them to break bones because honestly, once they break a bone, they become stronger in the place that they broke it. Now, I'm not advocating that you all go out and break all your bones to become stronger, but I'm saying we do things in order to control the people around us. I've seen women do it for years where they will tell you their boyfriends that, you know, the guys are getting ready to go out for drinks or whatever, and their fear makes them want to control the other person. And because the other person doesn't know if you're sick or not sick, you're going to feign some illness and no, you can't go out. You got to take care of me because if you loved me, you wouldn't leave me by myself. That kind of thing. Like, I've seen that. The manipulation I've definitely seen. And most people do it out of fear because they want to control the situation. And I also know that people use the other person's fear against them as well to be able to control at the same time. So I don't know, rant over, but I'm still worried for our future. I'm worried that we don't teach each other to question and look for answers rather than accept whatever's been thrown in your face as gospel truth. I want us to learn to speak more, to discuss more, to really get to the root of things. And it's shows like this that really tug at your strings a little bit, kind of jerk your chain a little bit, rock the boat a little bit, and I think it's necessary because it's too easy to swallow the truth whole. You should take it apart. You should look at it. You should digest it. You should ask more questions. You should test it so you can see for yourself what's real and what's not. And that's where my faith comes from. My faith comes from the things that are seen. I have faith that eventually people will realize that they're not victims in their lives, that they do have power and strength and courage, and vulnerability is the key to all of that. And you can walk out of a situation that you created by accident if you decide one day that you don't want to be there anymore. I've done it myself. I believe in people who really can affect the world with change, or inspire change because they've loved the hell out of somebody and suddenly the other person was like, yo, you know what? I can do better. I should expect better because somebody else expects better of me. I have faith in those things, and I want you to have faith in things that are tangible as well because you've tested it. You've seen it happen again and again in your life, and that also means that pain is real and you have seen hurt and you have seen torment and suffering. That's also real, but it's the same coin, a different side, right? The love and the joy of it all is also there, possible. I've seen it. I've seen it in people who have really had everything ripped away from them, and when it was given back, oh my God, they held on to it for dear life, and they really respected and appreciate the hell out of it. So if one can exist, I know the other can as well. And if faith supposedly is based on something you can't prove, well, I choose to redefine it for myself. I choose to believe that faith is the belief that you know what's going to happen because you've seen it happen before. And maybe not in your own life, but in the lives around you. I've seen people come from nothing and succeed. I have seen people who had everything given to them and they built more out of it. I've seen people who had everything given to them and they tossed it aside because there was no value, because it's easy to replace. It's always there. They've never felt the loss. They've never experienced what it was like not to have, to suddenly be without, to not have someone catch you when you fall all of a sudden. So they learn to dust themselves off, and they learn to stand on their own 2 feet, not waiting for someone to rescue them. I've seen it all. Why? Because I've read a lot, I've seen a lot, I've experienced a lot, I've talked to so many people. And if I know those things are possible, I know that there is a God. This is God in my everyday life. This is the universe working together with the people around you. The universe isn't against anyone. The universe is fully supportive of everyone. You just need to line up all of your likes and wants and needs and desires so that everybody gets what they need. I believe in faith. I believe in the faith of something that is tangible, of things that I have seen with my own 2 eyes. And maybe that's the responsible reporter in me, but I was taught to question. And I wasn't taught to question by my parents. I wasn't taught to question by the school system. I taught myself to question because when I questioned, suddenly I had more options. There were suddenly more possibilities, things that I could do that weren't limited to other people's viewpoints or other people's experiences. I got to spread my wings because I learned to question. And I hope you learn to question too. I love you guys. I'll catch you soon. Bye.